I think that the mission trip really helped me to see another side of Christianity, because you don't realize how many different opinions there are and how all the different views until you actually meet people and talk to people about faith, and the views in their faith. So we met some people of a different denomination, and that really helped me to realize, there are so many people with different opinions, and you have to stay true to who you are and what you believe. Otherwise, you're going to be overwhelmed.
It was interesting because I'd never been on one. So it was fun getting to go up to Georgia and work on the houses.
The mission trip was an awesome experience. We all bonded as a group. We strengthened our faiths. We learned how to reach out to others and help them to strengthen their faiths as well.
It was a lot of fun. I got to bond with the other youth. I got to help somebody out. I got to talk to the kids that were there at the Sunday school.
The mission trip was a lot of fun, and I think that is when it wasn't really when I let God into my heart, but I feel like that's when I really opened up and actually just started a real relationship, because then after that, I just always talked to him about anything that was going on, and I feel like that was kind of that's where it started really. And
the mission trip was really fun to see people who just live differently than we do, and seeing spending time with the kids and being there for them and helping put a roof on for someone or help them so they don't have what we take for granted, a nice roof to keep them from getting wet during downpours. And it was nice to be able to give them what we never think about.
At the mission trip, there was this little boy. His name was Andy. He was about 4, and he didn't speak much English. The neighborhood we were working in was predominantly Spanish, and so Andy spoke a lot of Spanish, but not a lot of English. I've taken Spanish in school for about 2.5 years, so I tried to use what little Spanish I knew to help communicate with this little boy. And when I started to speak in Spanish to him, the smile on his face, it was so cute.
They had the little electric children's cars that makes you feel like you're driving a real car. They had one, except they didn't have a battery for it. So they just pushed it around. And normally they would have the kids take turns. Except since I was there, they had a lot of fun because I like to push them around quite fast. And they were screaming and yelling, being happy.
At the Sunday school, there was a bunch of little girls at the table, and they were painting people's nails. And then one of the little girls, I was over playing soccer, and she was like, "Can I paint your nails?" And I said yes, and I went over there, and she painted my nails. And it didn't look the best, but, she had a fun time, I had a fun time, and yeah.
It was just good to see the smile on their faces, because they didn't find much joy, so the joy in that was good enough for them.
That right there is why we go on these trips, to see that kind of joy. See God working through these kids to show us what all there is in the world. It's amazing.
I had never really done a proper mission trip before like that. I've never gone and helped somebody out and worked on something, so I think it did actually help me grow in my faith.
Older peers and just people close to my age actually kind of helped me a lot, because it was better hearing it from them, because they're just like me, and if they have a relationship with God, or if they can talk to me about my faith, then they just kind of made an impact.
I've definitely felt my faith grow when I'm with a group of people and you bond through a certain experience.
I guess the obvious church answer is reading the Bible and praying all the time, but definitely I think praying is a great way to be close with God, because conversation is one of the many aspects that humans need to survive, and I think that talking to God makes us feel better, makes us feel one with God. I think we need to make sure that we helping others, and allowing others to help us is one of the great ways to grow in our faith, because we have to realize that there's always more to learn and there's always something to give, and that's definitely a way to grow in faith.
My faith grows when I see God in action, when I see Him working through people, when I see Him in nature. I don't necessarily learn as much when I'm sitting in church listening to the sermon. I learn more when I'm out and He is working through me. When I see other people learning and helping them to learn is how I learn. By teaching others, that is what makes the big difference for me.
I feel like my faith has been challenged certain times, and that's when I just have to talk to God about it and just put a lot of thought into it, pray about it. And
after coming to this church so long, people, they expect you to have this great faith, and sometimes your faith, it kind of dwindles a little bit, and it's hard to keep control of it, so it goes off to different places.
And I mean, another hardship I was going through was my knee surgery. I was confused as to why I was the one being punished when I was, I was, so active. And the day we went up to Shands before we found out I needed to have surgery, we stopped by Miss Galloway, and Miss Debbie Galloway, we saw her because she had just had her surgery, and my dad wanted to see how she was doing, and I didn't know how it was going to end up. I brought my book in because I thought it was going to be boring. I was sitting there like, oh, this is just going to be one of his regular visits, and we walk in the room, and there's this lady with a big smile on her face. Before we had even walked in, she was, glowing, and she didn't look like she just had surgery. She didn't look like her life had just been changed.
I've felt my faith challenged just by being pulled in so many different directions and being busy with a lot of different things. But I think what really helps to bring me back is just realizing that you need to stop, slow down, and reevaluate your life. And what's important to you, what do you want to accomplish, what are your goals, and then you can fix that and assess it.
I feel like my faith has definitely been challenged. In middle school, I lost both my grandparents. My grandmother right before I went into middle school, and my grandpa right at the end of 8th grade. And that was a really tough time for me because I was so close to them. And so that really makes you question God and why He does things the way He does. After middle school, I started coming to youth group more, and Jody Lawson really brought me into the group, and she's like a big sister to me. And I really feel like that brought me back in. That strengthened my faith, seeing God work through the people in the youth group and having them reach out to me and bring me, and so I felt like a part of the group. It was really awesome.
I think just to grow my faith even more, even if it's just little by little, I still, try to do things through God whether it's playing sports or just being with people or going to church even, or just reading my Bible or anything. Like, I feel like all of those add up, growing my faith just a little bit more at a time, more and more.
To strengthen my faith, I think that I go to church and I try really hard to pay attention and to get something out of it, and pray every day, and just trust in the Lord.
Well, definitely going on many mission trips really does help, seeing other people and learning to aid them in their struggles and learning from them, because they are usually deep-rooted in their faiths, and it's just nice to see other people.
I feel like there's no end to growing your faith. There's always room to grow. You can always learn more. Going out and seeing God in nature and seeing His works, there's never an end to that. You can always learn more. Whether it's the first time you've read a passage in the Bible or it's your 10th time reading that passage, there's always some little detail that you didn't see before, or some realization that you've come to, because maybe your situation has changed and you're able to see it differently in this light. I think it's awesome that you can't ever stop learning. It's so cool that no matter what, there's always more to learn. And it's so much fun getting to see God in action and being able to show His light to the world. It's just a great feeling, and I think this youth group does an awesome job of showing the world all God has to offer.